GM just said, nope, all the batteries, all the cost, all the weight, go for it. We've put over 100 miles on it so far, and there's definitely some question marks going on here. It doesn't want to turn. It's just so heavy, it just wants to keep going straight. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Alyssa, you gotta back up. The Escalade is huge. And that is what we are talking about in this video. This is the new Cadillac Escalade IQ. The Escalade is an American icon. It saved the Cadillac brand, and now it is the first full-size electric SUV from the General Motors portfolio. It's huge. I mean, literally over 5.5 meters long, over 220 something inches long. Absolutely massive. This one weighs almost 9,300 pounds. It's crazy. The ground might fall under its own weight. It's got 217 kilowatt hours usable, 400 kilowatt regen, 350 plus kilowatt charging. The numbers are huge. The weight is huge. The Escalade is huge, and it's badass. So in this video, I'm going to take you on a full tour, front to rear, of the new Cadillac Escalade IQ. This one is a Sport 2, fully maxed out with every option, executive rear seats, all the stuff. And I'm going to drive it for the first time. We will also swing by our friends over at Lucid because I want to compare this to the Lucid Gravity. So we'll make a little clip with the Lucid Gravity, just talking about space and size and efficiency. And because we do have to bring it back down to earth with some rational thinking here in this video. And that's that, the Escalade IQ. Thing's freaking crazy. Let's get into it. Before we get into anything in this video, I have to say a huge thank you to DGDG. You guys remember DGDG because they literally gave us a free car. A couple of years ago, they gave us their Coda Electric, a new, unsold, weird, terrible electric car from the early 2010s. And that company went bust. They happen to have like a fresh one sitting on their lot. They gave it to me. And since then, we've had a great relationship with our friends over there. So I called them up as soon as I heard they got an Escalade IQ and flew here to the San Jose area just to drive the Escalade. So this comes from Team Cadillac in Vallejo. A huge shout out to those guys for letting us drive this over the couple day period of time that they've loaned it to us, and we can make this video for you well in advance of, for some reason, Cadillac actually doing media drives, like official ones. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe there's still some bugs to work out with the Escalade. We'll talk about that because we've put over 100 miles on it so far, and there's definitely some question marks going on here. But Alyssa also joins me behind the camera. Alyssa, we are fans on this channel of big batteries, long range, fast charging, tons of space. What's the initial quick impression from looking at the Escalade for the first time today from your side?
I think it looks absolutely great and absolutely massive. I'm genuinely curious to see how it is on the side of a kid hauler, a dog hauler, whatever you're hauling around. See if the space is actually usable or if it's just a big block on wheels.
Yeah, I mean, no question. If you want to talk about space efficiency, this is about the opposite of that because this vehicle is so big when you park it next to a Lucid Gravity, but has seemingly comparable interior space. And it has very comparable driving range to a Lucid Gravity. This is rated at 460 miles in EPA. The Lucid Gravity is 10 miles less at 450 miles, but this has twice the battery capacity, which means it's going to cost twice as much to drive because it's half as efficient. You know, there is something cool, and we shouldn't really be proponents of this, but there is something cool about American excess, just dripping in weight and batteries. And, you know, it used to be there's no replacement for displacement. And now there's no replacement for big ass batteries, except there is, and it's called efficiency and smart thinking. This is just a middle finger to all of that. It's just big, badass, awesome sound system, all the content. Throw it in here, and it's the most American, old school way of engineering a car I could ever imagine. Alyssa, back in the days, like General Motors used to have like an 8.1 liter that made 149 horsepower. This is like massive SUV, massive battery, and well, the only way they get the range is because of the big battery. We're going to get into all of that stuff as time goes on. The Escalade IQ, let's walk around, let's show everyone quickly what this thing is fundamentally very similar to a Hummer, a Silverado, a Sierra Denali EV that we've tested all of those vehicles on the channel. It actually uses the same tire, the same OE tires, the Silverado EV RST and the Denali Edition 1. It's a 24-inch wheel, 275 width, 8 lug. This is big boy, almost heavy duty truck stuff on this thing. But it's also fully contented with air suspension and magnetic ride control, and is really taking that truck-based platform and softening it up. Honestly, nothing new for Escalade. Escalade's always been built on a truck-based GMT platform. Here now it's on the Ultium platform, except you can't say Ultium anymore because they've removed that from the General Motors dictionary. That's more confusing than anything to me. I don't understand it. To open up the trunk, because everyone's going to want to see it, you just hit the Cadillac badge. You don't actually have to hit it. You can just touch it nicely, but I thought it was for visual effect. This is with the third row up. We're going to get into all the space back here, but we always like to show this. Extremely high loading height, first of all. I think before we even get into the review of the Escalade IQ, it's important to mention just like the philosophy of building and engineering cars. The decisions that must have been made, the processes to have something this insane and this ludicrous come to market is fascinating to me, because this is, if you want to build a profitable car, and I'm not a good company analyst or, sort of costing person when it comes to building electric cars. That's more Sandy Munro's channel. I would think you would want to make it as efficient as possible with the least amount of batteries so that it handles better and you can, lessen weight and improve crash performance and all these things. And GM just said, nope, all the batteries, all the cost, all the weight, go for it. And they charge you for it. This thing is almost $170,000 because it is the Sport 2. It's supposed to have powered doors. They stopped working. They're also annoying because you always fight the motors. It's a bit like the i7. It's just always pushing against you. Open up. Thank you. Come take a look in here. Huge backseat area, without question. Captain's chairs, screens. Absolutely insane 40-speaker AKG sound system that bumps, and it'll blow the freaking windows out of the car next to you. I love it. This is like, you get in this thing, you put Rick Ross up to 12, and you just cruise down the highway with Super Cruise, hands-free, and you're living the American dream. At least one of the American dreams for some people. The price in this, again, like I mentioned, $160-ish plus $1,000. You can spec them base at about $130, plus or minus. Seems quite expensive. And I guess you're getting a lot for your money. You're getting a lot of battery, a lot of charging, all that stuff. So what should we do? Should we start up front, Alyssa, and go on a tour? What do you think?
Yeah, let's start from the front and then head it to the back.
Okay, starting up front, Escalade design. Everyone's got eyes. I'm never good at explaining design language. You say it looks really good. I actually think it doesn't look nearly as good as their combustion Escalade, especially the new 2025 V Escalades. Those things look insane to me. What's your impression of this or the combustion one? Which would you have from a subjective styling perspective?
I think the combustion one definitely looks better, but this definitely, like most car companies, when they're launching cars like this, they like to kind of give it a little EV taste, and that's what they've done here. And I think it still looks pretty decent for the EV side of looking cars.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what the less expensive Yukon electric and Tahoe electric that will come into the future. I've heard rumors that they're going to make an extended version of this, Alyssa, an even bigger one.
A long boy. Which,
based off of their interior packaging, I actually think they need. Like, it's not big enough in there for a big family.
No, it's not spacious as you need, but
the fact that the space in this is the same as the Gravity is crazy.
Well, yeah, it's honestly, I mean, we'll get into all of that, but the Gravity feels a lot more spacious, but this is also the executive package, and so I think that takes away from a lot.
Yeah, we'll get into that. That certainly hampers third row space for sure. One thing, though, that does help with space and that is impressive is what's going on under here. You have the front trunk area, which is actually carpeted for the first time. You know, we've seen this exact front trunk in Hummer and Silverado and all the different vehicles we've tested. This is actually a carpeted, higher quality version. They have chromed tie down areas that look really nice. And this is 12 cubic feet, I believe, and it's deep. So this really does have a lot of space when you go in, and it's actually a bigger front trunk than Gravity in terms of volumetric density, but I still struggle to have some issues that, like, I feel like this should have been a little bit wider. One nice touch though is you have a 120 volt NEMA 515 outlet in here. I think that's wonderful to have. I love exportable power. And this one is limited only to 400 watts though, which is kind of curious to me. To close the front trunk, best I can tell is you have to push and hold a button inside. This button doesn't close it. Or maybe I can hit the button on the key. It's blinking and it's coming down. Yes, so the key does do it. Now I'm going to show everyone the key as soon as I'm done pressing. There we go. And you have your lock, unlock, remote start process, front and rear trunk, and your alarm system. It does also have the backup physical key that stays in there if the 12 volt battery were to die, which is annoyingly common in General Motors electric vehicles. I'm not saying the Escalade is plagued with this problem, but I don't see why it wouldn't be, because even the newest GM stuff, the 2025 with the newest software, every time we run them to dead, we run every electric car out of charge in our highway range test, just so we make sure we use the buffers. We have to pull the negative terminal on the 12 volt battery and put it back on for it to restart and get moving again. Or we have to charge it above 10% state of charge on the high voltage battery for it not to do that. Regardless, they're super buggy when you run out of charge. So my recommendation is always just top up a little bit on your way to a charger, because if you do run out, always carry a 10mm socket with you so you can pull the negative terminal off the the low voltage 12 volt battery. Up here, a ton of ambient lighting in the grille. Alyssa, I think it looks really cool. Almost EV9-esque, but definitely not as cool because that does come through the paint on that particular one.
Yeah, the EV9 definitely has more intricate lights. This is more of just LED looking.
But look at that. So many freaking beams in there.
There is. This is a lot of light.
And what we'll do towards the end of the video, because the sun is setting, we'll show everyone the startup animation of this. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do that.
I think it's absolutely amazing. I really love what Cadillac is doing with lights. Up here, you have a lot of sensors going on. You have a front camera that works for your 360-degree view cameras, which are annoyingly small on the screen inside. You have your long-range radar. You have a couple other sensors, including night vision in this one, which is not a new technology. I mean, night vision's been around since the E38 7 Series. No, it must have been the next one. It must have been like E60-ish generation of BMWs that got it. But 10, 20 years, night vision's been a thing. The Germans have gone away from it. They're expensive sensors. They get used very little for a very little period of time, and they're of little benefit. However, I believe this does flash up like animal warnings and pedestrian warnings at night, which honestly I need. Not that I've run anyone over, but I'm really bad at looking for pedestrians sometimes, Alyssa.
Yeah, you sometimes need the little reminder to not hit little Betty Sue going across the road.
Yeah, I'm just always in racetrack mode, looking for the apex, not looking around me. So it's a good reminder to always stay focused. But also, this vehicle does have close range braking if you're in a tight situation and backing up to something. So there's tons of safety tech on this, which honestly it needs, because it's 9,300 pounds and it comes up to like here on me, and I'm 6'1", 1.86 meters, quite tall. Come around the side, Alyssa. This, when we first saw it today, and in videos and in photos, it doesn't seem imposing, especially when it's just here in its parking lot. When we park this next to normal cars, holy shit, literally, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's tall.
It's just massive. And I mean, like, we've driven Hummers. We love Hummer on this channel. We've driven Silverado. There's something about the shape of this, and also being a full-size SUV, that just makes it astoundingly large.
Yeah, it looks really big going down the road, parked next to other cars. I mean, it's a beefy car.
Let's talk wheel tire package. We already mentioned the 8-lug 24-inch wheel with the 275/50 R24 tire. Is it a 275/50 or 55? It's a Michelin Primacy LTX tire. It's an OE tire. And yes, it is a 275/50 R24, an OE tire for this Ultium platform. I'm going to call it Ultium. I'm not deleting it from my vocabulary, even though GM did. I think it's a really amazing tire. It has to blend the compromise of tread life, noise performance, of course, just the weight and massive handling characteristics they were trying to get out. And you know, this isn't as quiet as you would expect on the highway, Alyssa, but it's not offensively loud, I would say.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. Okay, continuing down the side, the world's largest turn signal here. Let me see if I can get it to blink. Check that out. Comes right through. I really wish this Cadillac badge was lit. I thought that would have been cool. The mirrors are sort of this dual tone black and white theme, and I believe you can spec these with a dual tone black roof if you so choose. Coming back to the charging port, it's a powered charging port. First time we've seen that on a rear-mounted General Motors vehicle. We've seen them on Blazer and Lyriq, but they kind of suck in those vehicles. They're like super slow and not well tuned. This is working wonderfully. So props to General Motors for putting an actually good powered charge port on here. What's confusing is this is a 2025 model year. Still no NACS, Alyssa.
Nope.
Yep, so we don't have the J3400 port on here, which like Hyundai is doing and Lucid is doing with production gravity. And so I don't know why we're still stuck in CCS world with these things, but you are able to get an adapter, whether it's included with the vehicle or you got to get it from the dealer or a third-party one. I'm not totally sure, but I just think it's kind of annoying that we don't have the native port here yet. Couple cool things going on here. Escalade 80 amp onboard charger, as you would expect. So 19.2 kilowatt AC charging. You can do the math, but you'll be full in the morning if you install a dedicated circuit in your garage. From the DC charging perspective, it's the same 24 module charging we know and love from the other models. And based off my recent testing, the software glitches that we've had charging the 24 module packs are kind of fixed. Of course, in the future, when we get one of these to Colorado and run it in the range test and the charging test, we are going to do a bunch more validation to make sure the Escalade's not different. No indication that it would ever be. Even folks from GM have confirmed with me that it's like, yeah, it's the same charging. It's rated at 350 kilowatt peak, but it will do more. We've seen as high as 386, almost 390 kilowatts on these packs. It's more about the curve, and it's a juicy, fat curve. Sounds impressive until you realize that's really not, it's not even 2C charging. That 2C charging would be 400 kilowatts, even above that. And in China, we're already seeing 5C charging battery packs and more. So really, I can't wait for megawatt charging on the next gen Escalade is what I'm saying. Some other cool things I should just mention briefly is the fact that this vehicle does ship with Tesla Supercharger access through an adapter. General Motors does have access to the massive, reliable, fantastic Tesla charging network with the port in the native location. It might be tight to squeeze it into a supercharger though, Alyssa.
It'll be a squeeze.
And the other thing that will happen is you will have reduced charging performance on superchargers until Tesla rolls out version 4 chargers, not just dispensers. The way this battery works, and I know the EV nerds know this, but a lot of people watching this video may not, is you have a double stacked battery pack, and it's essentially 12 modules top and bottom. Each one of those essentially individual battery packs is a 400 volt class battery. And so when you plug it into a supercharger that doesn't support high voltage, they stay as 2 individual 400 volt battery packs in theory, and it charges at 500 amps. So about 175 to 200 kilowatts maximum on superchargers. When you plug the Escalade IQ into a DC fast charger that can support higher power with higher voltage, really just higher voltage, like an Electrify America or EVgo high power station or Iona station, shout out Iona. They're doing a great job over there. This will then go into a series configuration rather than parallel, doubling the voltage and almost doubling your charging performance. That's where you're going to see the 350 plus kilowatt charging, and it absolutely boogies. And you can put in, I just did a Hummer 10% challenge with this battery, and I put in like 80 kilowatt hours in 15 minutes. Absolutely insane charging performance going through there. The back of the vehicle, we've got nice lighting back here, Alyssa. What is your impression of the styling back here?
Yeah, I think the back looks really good. This lighting's really nice.
We do have a, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It was so loud I couldn't hear you were talking.
Yeah, I think it's good. What do we got here? Oh, we got a windshield wiper.
Yep, hidden rear wiper here with a really cool like chimsel. I'm actually going to hit the brake pedal so you can see this light up. It's got this almost like, I don't know, little accent light right up in here. Let me hit the brake light so you can see this thing light up. Boom.
Wow.
Don't know if you can see that at all. Nice. Did it look cool?
Looks really cool.
Okay, nice to see. Man, this thing is big and tall, and you know, it's badged as the Escalade IQ. For those of you who don't know, all of the models of Cadillac electric vehicles spell love. You have the Lyric, O would be the Optic, V would be the Vistic, and E is Escaladic, but then there's also Celestic, so it's really Clove, not love.
Interesting.
I learned that from Jordan's Vistic review. By the way, if you're interested in the smaller brother to the Escalade, the Cadillac Vistic, we already have a full tour on this channel linked in a previous video. This one is badged as the 1000 E4. Typically, this would refer to Newton meters of torque, although I'm not 100% sure. E4 indicating all-wheel drive. Speaking of powertrain, 750 horsepower, 780 something pound-feet of torque. Sounds like a lot, feels like a little. This is heavy. Don't ever judge a vehicle's performance characteristics by the power. Always look at power to weight ratio. This is no performance electric car. I'm not saying it's slow. It's just effortless. It boogies. It gets down the road nicely. Like you're never going to need more power. But it doesn't, like if you say, oh, my car's got 750 horsepower, this really feels like a 350 horsepower vehicle from, you know, like that wouldn't weigh 9,000 pounds. What's your impression, Alyssa? We've kind of ripped it around.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel that fast, but it feels very comfortable, and it gets up to speed in a very comfortable way.
Yeah, this is just, you know, wafts up to speed. Again, you're going to be blasting Rick Ross in this thing, rolling on 24s. You're cruising. It's got adequate power for what you're trying to do here. Let me show you in the trunk now a little bit deeper. So we have this massive rear tailgate, which I just want to commend GM on the quietness of the struts here. Very, very nice and quiet. And we have, I would say, a fairly limited trunk space with the third row up. And this is where I want to see that extended base here, because when you put 6 or 7 people, this is technically still a 7-passenger SUV. You can see there is a, you know, a need for a little bit more storage. One thing I have to say is there's no way to lock this up. It sounds like we're breaking it. You hear that? Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, because everything I can see, we've looked at this earlier today, indicates that we're sort of maxing out these plastic clips. Look how like bendy that all looks. Mm-hmm. But if you let go, it just falls down. So I wish this would like stay up and lock in. Not a huge deal, but let me show you the included EVSE that comes with your Escalade IQ. The $160,000 EVSE in question is, I don't even know. Ah, it's an interesting one. It's branded as Ultium.
Oh.
But I thought they deleted the Ultium name. And this is a brand new car that's launching right now. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that. Let's just look at the specs on this really quick. Wow, this is small. I've never seen such small text in my life. It is NEMA 515 12 amp, 30 amp, max 32 amp. That's going to be a long ways to charge. I've never had such trouble reading something before, Alyssa.
Oh, small text.
I really think General Motors needs to include a 40 amp EVSE to work with the NEMA 1450 outlet. This is a very common outlet in the US, by the way. It's a 4-prong, plugs into a circuit that's wired up to a 50 amp line, and you can run 40 amps continuous safely with staying within electrical code. This one you can only do, I believe, 30 amps, not even 32, because it says NEMA 1450 was limited to 30 amps, which is going to take a long time to charge this Escalade at home. We've got some other things included. I don't even know what this would be. Doesn't totally matter. GM genuine parts. What do you think's in here, Alyssa?
I don't know.
Whoa, we've got wheel locks. Okay, that's pretty normal. You don't want someone stealing these 24s. We've also got whatever's going on in here. What could this be? Seems like it would be the spare tire replacement, because I don't know if this vehicle has a spare tire, but we are going to check. Be a huge plus. So you've got your tire fill, your slime, and this is actually, this hole is in here from the Silverado versions where this is normally in the front trunk. Surprisingly, they kept it in the rear trunk. Underfloor storage right to there. We've also got a subwoofer under here. Let me just take a look under here and see what's going on. I'm not at first glance seeing a spare tire, Alyssa. And that makes me think that there may not be.
That is pretty common though with new cars these days.
I know, but I feel like the spare tire needs to make a comeback.
It does.
It's like, you're not going to find a tire shop with a 24-inch
No.
tire anywhere. And, you know, this is an SUV with a ton of range that you want to take the family on vacations where you have limited time and you don't want to worry about a flat tire. It's so huge, it's so heavy. How could they not fit a spare tire in here? To me, that's a miss on a vehicle like this. I mean, I understand the engineering compromises, but anyway, there you go. Tow hitch is down here. It's just your typical receiver, 7-pin, and I believe it has the camera ports as well. And maybe when we get it to Colorado, yeah, I don't have the rivet pop tool on me. I would pull it off, but we just have it for a night. I would go through and we'll run this through the rustic ring when we can. The problem is it can't tow more than 8,000 pounds, which is limited by its tongue weight restriction. GM requires a 10% tongue weight maximum for their tow ratings. And because this vehicle is so close to its GVWR maximum, you're limited to 800 pounds of tongue weight, which means 8,000 pounds maximum trailer weight. And to me, that just doesn't seem like enough. It's one of the higher electric SUVs because Rivian R1S is just over 7,000 pounds. Gravity's 6,000 pounds. Model X is 5,000 pounds. Hummer can do 12,500 pounds, at least in the truck. I'm not sure about the SUV. So anyway, yeah, I think that's probably fine for most of those Pebble and Lightship trailers that we've been testing, Alyssa. And you can hook up the camera feeds in here, which is great. But I typically tow something that weighs 10,000 pounds, so this is just not quite spec'd for my personal needs, but for many people, it should be fine.
I agree.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you can tow the boat to the lake, whatever. It's going to be awesome. Back here, we have some more interesting stuff going on. Of course, the Escalade is all on air suspension with adaptive damper, all controlled from the screen inside. And Alyssa, this thing has over 10 degrees, just about 10 degrees of rear steer, which is crazy.
Very useful.
It means that this massive machine is incredibly maneuverable. One thing I will give them crap for is the incredibly slow steering ratio. So, you know, when you're like in a parking lot in this, you got to like hand over hand, go crazy, versus what we're used to in our Cybertruck is just, but it is still incredibly useful if you like turning a wheel a bunch of times, and it allows for Cadillac arrival mode. Basically crab walk.
Yeah.
Should we insert the clip of it crab walking right now?
Yeah.
Let's do it. That is Cadillac arrival mode, also known as crab walk and sidewinder. I forget what they call it, but I didn't know Silverado EV does this, but apparently on model year 25, it can do crab walk equivalent in the Silverado EV. Alyssa, do you love that feature or do you absolutely love that feature?
I love the feature. I don't really know what it's used for or what you need it for, but it definitely looks cool and it's a fun thing to do.
It's an Escalade. It's about excessiveness. This isn't about being rational or buying a car based off of numbers and efficiency. This is just about having most amount of features, most amount of show off to your friends cred. I love that it has the feature. I'm so thankful that GM put it in because I can't wait for all the future rap music videos of these things switching lanes, going down the road. It's going to be freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, back to the powertrain and stuff. I mentioned the horsepower figures, but I should also mention this is just a dual motor configuration, 750 horsepower. I would have hoped for $160,000 that General Motors would have put their top 1,000 horsepower tri-motor system in here, try 250 kilowatt motors, which means instead of 750 horsepower, we'd have 750 kilowatts, which I think would actually give this the power something with this price point deserves. Alyssa, we've driven Hummer EV 3X. This is equivalent to the 2X extended range version. It's also the identical powertrain to Silverado EV, Sierra, Denali, all that stuff. Would you have preferred 3 motors instead of 2 for your $160,000?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. General Motors?
You need more.
Yeah, put 3 motors in this thing, come on. I think it would be a real welcome addition because, again, this is supposed to represent the top of the brand right now, and it's only got their mid-tier powertrain system. From a braking standpoint, this vehicle still can do 400 kilowatt regen, which is super impressive until you think Taycan can actually do that on a battery less than half the size. But again, that's Taycan, which is an engineering marvel. So yes, This thing can do 400 kilowatt regen, and then it will blend in friction brakes, which is this really, honestly, incredibly strong and heat resistant braking technology, very strong rotor coatings that General Motors have done. And I just watched a fantastic video, if you're looking for more content on YouTube beyond Out of Spec, that Jay Leno's Garage just did with it wasn't the Secret Service, but it was Department of something, I can't remember, but they have these ballistic resistant Chevy Tahoes that they've upgraded, and Suburbans from the factory, and they use these brakes, also shared with Hummer EV, on those vehicles. So check that out if you're curious about GM's defense factory ballistic resistant vehicles. Anyway, back to the Escalade IQ. Alyssa, it's starting to get dark out here, isn't it?
A little bit.
A little bit. Any other last points on the exterior? Should I show everyone the startup sequence of the lights before we go inside?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select automatic lights on this thing. Let me go through and do that. So I'm going to come here to lighting. We're going to go to auto lights. I'm then going to lock the Escalade by doing this, and the lights just shut off. All right, we ready for the light up sequence? Damn.
Whoa. Okay.
Whoa. That's freaking cool.
That's fun.
That's
like
fun.
that.
Let's see if it does it in the rear. I'm not totally sure. So we'll lock it again. Okay, we're locked. Let's come around the back. Oh, it stopped doing it. Okay, and you can also select this as a user option. If you don't like, if this is too much for you, it doesn't have to do it. Oh, whoops, hold on. I messed it up. I think it's proximity based. Let me walk around to the back. It also has a function where the tailgate will open automatically from the back. Will it do it now? Yes, here we go. Whoa. Not as cool as the front.
No, but still cool.
They have all these individual LEDs. They could have lit it up. Oh, no way, Alyssa. It does the General Motors reverse light thing.
Oh.
It's plagued these vehicles for the last 25 years, and it's plagued people in parking lots thinking there's going to be an open space when in reality, someone is just walking up and unlocking their vehicle. Doesn't it look like it's in reverse right now?
Yeah.
How have they left that in there? That's crazy. We've been complaining about it since before I was born.
It's brand.
Sometimes General Motors will never learn. That's crazy. Oh my gosh, I had no idea that was in there. Nerd stuff. Backseat review time. What I want to do is I want to compare this to the Lucid Gravity backseat, Alyssa. What we're going to do is we're going to put both vehicles side by side. Lucid Gravity, I should mention, is significantly less expensive than this, even in its current Grand Touring configuration. And it's also incredibly smaller from a footprint and incredibly lighter from a weight standpoint. But on paper, they're almost direct competitors. They're number 1 and 2 for space on the inside. They're number 1 and 2 for range. And I think a lot of people are maybe considering cross-shopping both, but I think it's more like, what type of person are you between this and Gravity? I think if you're a Gravity customer, you're probably a thinking person, you're probably rational, you're probably a driving enthusiast, because we drove that thing and it absolutely shreds. Pretty much the opposite of this, which is like steering a cruise ship around, and this is just not connected at all while driving. And then if you're looking at an Escalade, you're probably looking for something big and bold and excessive. And to be totally honest, Alyssa, I love both, maybe even equally. I think the Gravity definitely edges it out for like the emotion for me though, because I love the engineering work that went into downsize that vehicle and just make it as space efficient as possible. But you have to admit there's something cool about both. Today, Alyssa, you've had the chance to play around with both. What's your impression?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're in the same market, but when you experience both of them, they're totally opposite, totally different cars.
Which one speaks to you more, a very practical person with the dogs?
Oh, definitely the Gravity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. What was it about the Gravity that you liked more than the Escalade?
I mean, I've been more obsessed with loading heights, and that's now a very important thing for me, along with space. And I think I feel like when I sit inside the Gravity, I feel like there's a lot more space personally. And also the loading height is a lot lower.
I actually totally agree. Gravity on paper has less cubic feet of storage, but feels bigger on the inside.
Right.
Let's go through the Escalade first, then we'll move over to that vehicle. Do the power doors work yet? What? They were working all day, and then it threw a fault right before we started filming. Car only has 100 miles on it, by the way. And I feel like I'm fighting against the motors the whole way, which is frustrating. Nice ambient lighting inside this door card. However, Alyssa, this wood is straight plastic.
Yeah, there's a lot of plastic in here.
All of this is like really crap feeling. Maybe it's just the glaze. Maybe it is real wood. I don't know, but it just feels so unnatural. It's like touching plastic around. But then certain things are like real materials, like this door pull, super chunky metal. Very, very nice. So there's like a mix of like really nice materials and high quality leathers and nice stitching work, and then just a mix of just straight parts sharing plastic crap. Let me show you how you enter in the third row. I think what's going to make the most sense is if you pop around to the other side, and then I can show you all the buttons. So let's do that. Yeah, the auto doors aren't working for some reason. Is it perhaps something we could try getting in here? Anyway, we'll get into it when we explore the second row. So we're going to start by going into the third row. So the second row here has the executive rear seat option. I'm just going to tell our viewers right now, do not spec the executive rear seats if you plan on putting people in the third row, because this is the problem. And while I'm showing you this, there's a little switch back here. You can do it through the screen, but I can just hit this quick control and the switch will go this way. There's two options for the Escalade IQ. I believe there's a bench, Alyssa, or captain's chairs that are just normal manually giant center console in between. Actually, if you look at our friend Kim Java's video, she reviewed the Escalade IQ with the normal back seats that are clearly the one to go for. So I'll leave her video linked in the description below. It was a fantastic tour of the Escalade. Another major problem, at least in this version, and we should look at Kim's video, see what the normal back seat looks like. This is attached to the body structure of the vehicle, and then the seatbelt goes to the seat. So to get into the third row, you have to like climb through this seatbelt, which is absolutely insane from my side. So let's go ahead and somehow figure out a way. I think I'll go under the seatbelt, kind of like this. So let me crawl in here. This seat's all the way forwards, by the way. We tried everything. We looked in the manual. Gotta pull my leg up. Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Squeeze.
Oh, it's that extra burrito I had at Chipotle the other day. It was good, though. Couple issues right off the bat. Ingress into the rear seat is unacceptable, Alyssa. This is a 3-row, $160,000 electric SUV. Are you telling me General Motors couldn't engineer this seat to go forwards anymore?
I guess not. I mean, with these,
that genuinely was
TVs.
Painful getting in here.
Yeah, you have to be, I mean,
I'm a big dude.
you are, and I don't foresee, I mean, you packing, you know, big men in the back of the car. It's more of little small children that are more nimble, but definitely not easy to get in and out of, and definitely probably if you're a car seat mom and all of that type of stuff, that'll be very, very inconvenient.
Speaking of car seat moms, another tidbit I learned from Kim's video was there are no latches, no latching points for the third row in this vehicle.
Oh.
So you can work around it with the belts and stuff, but regardless of whether you get executive seats or not, there's not the simple latches like the second row has in vehicles. Yeah, they have the tether in the back, but not the little snap-in ones for car seats back here. Which Lucid Gravity has in all 3 rows. There's other electric SUVs out there, Rivian R1S, others. We'll do another electric SUV comparison in the near future. It's just exciting that we have Gravity and this launching at the same time. Alyssa, another huge problem. This is regardless of which second row seating package you go for. My knees are in my face. Like I am just, this floor is so high up because of the giant battery under there that it's incredibly uncomfortable to sit back here.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I have very limited shoulder room on the right side and left side respectively, but I do have a USB-C port and a cup holder to go in. Let's put this seat back to a normal seating position. The switch has stopped working because I think the Escalade went to sleep. The LED lights are on, but would you mind closing your door and reopening it? There we go. That woke it up. And now the seat will come back. This is the stuff I'm talking about. That's just, and it's in my knees. Would a normal person be able to fit there? Because I'm touching right now. I can't move. Looks like it.
Probably like if you're shorter than 5'7", 5'8".
Okay. Let's move this out of the way really quick. What you could do, of course, is if you could wake up the screen somehow, which I think it's only possible now if someone gets in the driver's seat.
Hey, it worked.
Oh, the power door worked?
Yeah.
Nice. And it also has a soft close to finish it off at the end. A little clunky though.
Yeah.
I just think there's some fundamental flaws with this electronic layout. It's all powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon something. I'm not sure exactly which chip. It doesn't say in the material. So it's got a powerful processor. It's just the software tuning on top of it to make stuff like that just annoying, like where it went to sleep and we couldn't pull the seat back. The other issue we have is Alyssa sitting in the second row right now. This screen won't power on. And what you would probably want to do is slide this seat forwards on the passenger side and then angle the backrest back, because that would be a more comfortable position and it would equal the same legroom from my side. Anyway, what's cool is you can fit 3 across in the third row. So that's where this vehicle is still a 7-passenger, even with the executive second row. What I'm not 100% sure of, and I haven't seen, is a bench second row option. It's possible, but maybe it's not offered. Maybe this is where you get the 7th seat. Because if you get a bench there and a bench here, now it becomes an 8-passenger, which is cool.
Yeah.
And you can still spec a base Chevy Suburban combustion with a 9-passenger configuration, 333, which is pretty sweet. Popular in Utah. Anyway, you've got these roof vents up here that I think are Walter approved. What's your impression, Alyssa?
Yeah, you had them ripping earlier today, and I was impressed by the airflow. Overall airflow is very good, so nobody is going to be suffocating in the back.
Yeah, except I'm trapped back here because the car went back to sleep. The button won't work. Thank you. Oops, wrong way. Why does it go to sleep so quick?
I don't know.
But yes, General Motors and HVAC systems, they are king of air conditioning. No one's ever going to get hot in a General Motors product. You've also got these screens back here, Alyssa. Let's see these really quick. This is for the second row. And if you click the home button, oh, they went to sleep. Maybe we'll show everyone the screens here in a little bit. I think we're confusing the car. Okay, I'm genuinely going to try and get out. The seat is as forward as it'll go. I'm hitting the button, that's it. Again, this is exclusive to the executive backseat package. Okay, with some force, I made it out. I don't know how many cycles of that these seats could take before they rip off their mounts though, because that was incredibly painful to both me and I'm sure the car. Now I'll push and hold this button and have the seat come back to its resting position, which is a beautiful seat, by the way. If you're not going in the third row, if you're using this for like airport shuttle, VIP shuttle, something like that, spec the second row things, but just pretend you don't have a third row back there, unless it's absolutely for kids. So now I've got this all the way back in its comfort-oriented position, and Alyssa, oh man, this is nice.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
Finally, living the dream. It's almost EQS Maybach-like.
Oh.
It's really a cool second row experience because you have this awesome seat, this big opening for the door, this massive room, and you're basically saying when you spec this quite expensive package that you're saying, screw the third row. We're going all in on the second row experience. What I'm going to do is power up the Escalade so we can see all these screens, Alyssa, because I feel like that's a huge part of the second row experience. Another benefit of getting the second row like this, Alyssa, is you actually get 4 more speakers in your AKG sound system. So they actually go up to 40 speakers in this case, and the extra speakers are what's built into the headrest. Power door working perfectly. How about that? So to start, this is a little secret hack, if in case you're wondering. To start a General Motors electric vehicle and to not have it shut off, you hit the accelerator pedal 3 times. The car wakes up. Then, once it's all started, you touch the brake pedal, which auto closes the driver door. Hey, the doors have fixed themselves.
They have.
And now it will never shut off. Automatic shutdown off, it'll just stay on, which is great. I'm also going to force the dome lights on by going here and going to dome light on. This way we have lighting inside because it is getting dark outside. Here I am, jumping in, Alyssa, with you.
Welcome.
We're doing the review from the back seat. Let me just close the door. Hey, I'm glad that's working now. At least we can show that.
You always leave the front door open and it dings.
Damn it. All right, I'll swipe to open the General Motors ding of death. Let's do it. Okay, you can also just squeeze the handle, but the doors go so slow, Alyssa, I'd rather just do it manually. Maybe when you're back here, you can close it like this, whatever. This is certainly a much more highly contented experience than the second row of the Gravity that people are about to see. And I think it's pretty cool, to be honest. First of all, you have a center armrest here with, how the hell do you do this?
I don't know. I've been messing with them and I don't know.
Oh, there's a little switch here, right? Yeah.
There you go.
Damn. 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 Cool.
Full airplane mode.
That's sick.
We should eat dinner in here tonight.
We can certainly get Panda Express on the Escalade.
No, we're about to go to China. You told me we can't have Chinese food.
It's not Chinese food.
It's American Chinese food.
It's really good.
It's your favorite.
Oh, yeah. I'm worried about the food in China. Don't have to worry about the food in the Escalade, though, because I can use the web browser to order food delivered to the Escalade, which I can then eat here. I have to say, these feel a bit flimsy. Take a look.
Yeah, and they don't lay completely flat either.
They do feel like either nice, light metal or, yeah, it's metal. I mean, it's not too bad. When you put some weight on there, I think it would flatten out, like a laptop or something. But it just feels like if you put too much, you're going to just snap it. Regardless, let's put those away, because that's a pretty cool function. Bend, in.
Bend.
Yep. Boom, locks in, and then it's just these little latches that open them up. We should mention this huge glass roof, Alyssa.
Yeah, it is massive, but there is no way to dim it.
That's right. There's no electrochromatic tinting and there's no power shade. And one thing we noticed Sunny was it didn't seem to have enough tinting compared to vehicles like Tesla Cybertruck or even my Tesla Model S that do a much better job with their glass roof heat management. It wasn't even the heat, I think, so much. It was just the brightness of the sun coming in. What are we looking at here, Alyssa?
I just want my heated seat on.
Oh, okay.
You want yours on?
I think I'm actually going to go cooled seat. But unfortunately...
Can't do both.
Can't do both. Only the Germans let you do both.
Only the Germans.
They know what you're looking for.
Alright. Once you experience it, you'll never go back.
I'm telling you, heated and cooled seats at the same time. That's what life is about. I am actually going to go for a massage, and I'm going to go for maximum intensity on the relief section. Not as many selections as you get in the front, but actually it is. You can just slide on them. How about that? Mm-hmm. Which one are you going to go for? So same as the front. You're all the way down.
I think I like a roll.
Okay. They're definitely loud seats in this case. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I feel like massaging seats have just become really loud, and especially cooled seats have become really loud. Cooled seats are pretty loud.
Yeah, you just hear airflow. That's a General Motors thing, is they love, blasting air everywhere. And one thing I should mention about air management is there are 2 wireless phone chargers in here and 2 up front. All of them are actively cooled while charging. A+. Nice. That is amazing. Absolutely love it. There's also 2 USB-C ports right here, and there are, cup holders as well with very powerful air vents. Only right here, not for the B pillar, although it might be different if you don't spec the executive rear seats. I'm not sure. Regardless, you have some cool things that you can do on these tablets back here, Alyssa. So you were showing me that you can actually get over to the vehicle status page, which is like what I would like to know with the nerd stuff. So you can see your speed, you can see we're at, just under 75% state of charge. You can see our distance driven, our trip information. I think that's a really nice screen. It doesn't go as in-depth as I would be looking for, but it isn't bad.
Yeah, no, it's good information for people who want to know. Good Uber spec.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in one of these as an airport shuttle, hey, I'm pulling this up and monitoring all the statistics. Other than that, you can watch YouTube, you can plug in HDMI stuff to it, and Hulu, and et cetera, et cetera. There's also ways to pair a Bluetooth headphone to this particular one. And I would say, in general, I think an iPad would be more useful than this, like just an iPad mount. I never have found anything like this to be totally useful, except for kids' use, really. Maybe watching YouTube, but even then, I just feel like this is such a limited functionality. I'd rather just put an iPad there. What's your impression?
Well, my issue with it is that it just takes up so much space. It makes you feel more cramped, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
And they're optional. So all we're saying is if you just get an Escalade IQ and you skip all this stupid backseat stuff, which is like only good if you're just doing VIP shuttle work, then you're not going to have to deal with any of this stuff.
Right.
But we do have this screen down here that is kind of nice. So you have a couple main controls. You have your temperature control, 4-zone in this particular case, but then you can also, it's actually 5-zone climate, have your own temperature for the third row, which is really, I think, a fantastic function. You can sync everything to the driver's setting, which is what I like for my OCD, so that all the fan speeds are the same and we have efficiency everywhere. But I also love how you can blast the third row on full cold for when we have the dogs back there. I think it's a really great function. Anything you'd like to add to this, Alyssa, other than it just getting absolutely cold and being great? I think my issue is no dog mode.
Yeah, but these bigger companies just don't have them.
Yeah, but like VinFast, Lucid, Tesla, Rivian have dog mode. Volvo's getting it soon, they said.
Yeah, there's another company too. I can't remember who.
Yeah, Neo has it.
Neo has it, yeah.
Yeah, comment below if you know of cars with dog mode. I think Xiaomi had it as well.
Yes.
So anyway, let us know what you guys find and want to see. Regardless, let's continue through these functions here. We also have this next one, which is like sort of adjusting the air flow and which vents you want to turn on. Then you've got your seat adjustments, which you can do heated and cooled, typical fashion. You can separate just back heating or back and butt heating. I love that they give you that option. GMs have been doing it forever. We've already shown you the massage function and then the incredibly complicated seat positioning. Would have been so nice if they just put some buttons here, because this makes it really complicated to know exactly what you're trying to adjust, and then you have to save a memory position for each side. Any comments here, Alyssa, on the usage of this system and how you think it's integrated?
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I'd rather just have buttons. I mean, it's fun to play around with, but when you're actually trying to be quick and functional, it's a very slow process. You gotta go from, if you want to go front to back, that's one screen. If you want to do your bolsters, that's a whole nother screen, and it's just not very quick.
Yeah, this is just like, I hope
And
you got a
it's
lot of
laggy.
time. It's, yeah, the seat doesn't respond right away. It's always a little bit of a delay. I just think all of this could have been solved with just a simple seat control, and it would have been way better than having to go into all of these menus.
Right.
It still can be fixed through software. This is a vehicle that supports over-the-air software updates to, I believe, almost every module. So they might be able to make this snappier over time based off of our feedback and their potential customers. Let's come over here to the wireless phone charging menu. This is where it will tell you, I guess, if you have a phone charging. Let me grab a phone and put it in there. What does it say? Charging. What? They just have a menu to tell you if you're charging or not?
I guess.
It should tell you how fast it's charging. What's the temperature? Is the fan on? Give us the nerd data. Okay, then we come over here to the door menu that automatically comes up when you, again, open the door, but this is where you can swipe to open and you can stop it at any point. I like how you get a little progress bar and then you can close it by sliding in. I am not 100% convinced these work in tight environments yet, Alyssa. I'm going to park it next to a bush and see if it hits the bush, rather than like a building or something that would really damage it.
Why don't you just let it hit me, because it's not going to damage the car.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to scratch it.
Yeah, I don't want to scratch DG's car. Anyway, we've also got a bunch of ambient lighting settings, which is absolutely crazy. Look at all of these ones. So they have pre-selected ones, like this is going to be Aurora. And I guess it changes throughout. Now we have, of course, the Transcend theme, Oasis theme, and it tells you like accent light, glow light, and halo light, where they're positioned, and you've just got a bunch of styles and brightnesses and different modes, and you can have it linked to a theme or a drive mode. It's absolutely insane, and I would say a little bit hard to get dialed in, but Any impressions on this, Alyssa?
I mean, all it's really doing is fiddling with this side piece here. So.
Yeah, I think when you turn the other lights off, it goes a little bit more crazy.
Oh, okay.
Custom style, I don't know. That's fine. I like it. Ambient lighting unlinked from drive mode. Thank you. Conversation enhance is actually a really interesting function. We tried it with two of our friends in the car earlier where we were in the back seat, they were driving, and we were essentially whispering to each other because up here next to this light, the camera probably won't pick it up, there's a little microphone, Alyssa. And yeah, can we get it there? Maybe if I shine the flashlight right up there. There we go. That is the microphone, and each position has one. And you can essentially all whisper to each other or just talk completely normally like this. You could be doing 100 miles an hour down the highway, just talk like this, and everyone hears everyone through the headrest speakers. I have to say, it worked really well.
Yeah, it was.
It's way better than the Kia's passenger talk system. There's a little bit of delay, and like you can tell it was artificial, but if you just like are trying to have like a normal conversation, you don't want to yell or scream, it was a fantastic function just to all have a conversation in the car. And that's how big this thing is. We literally need microphones and speakers to communicate with each other because we're all in different zip codes in this thing. It's huge.
Yeah, it is very, very massive, but very comfortable.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that's all the back seat has to offer. There's a huge storage area down here with a 110 volt outlet underneath. This is mostly just open space. You can still get these same ports. You've got a
TV outlet thing. What are they called? HDMI?
You got it.
Nice.
There's two HDMIs that you can play your movies, Xbox, whatever you want on these things, and you've got your screens right there. So to open the door, I'm going to go to settings, doors, and then open rather than just pulling the handle. I really think door should be its own tab down here. Don't you think, Alyssa?
Yeah, I wonder if you can hotkey it or anything eventually.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe I can push and hold. No, doesn't seem to be adjustable. Anyway, that's the second row. Certainly plenty of room, but in order to fit in the third row, this seat has got to be way the heck up here. And then, yeah, let's jump into the front row, the Escalade IQ. All right, guys, just to close the door, I touch the brake pedal and it comes in. So nothing unusual. We're very used to that from Tesla Model X, but I'm glad that this has that function. It does keep saying phone left and wireless charger, but that's because there are two wireless chargers here that are cooled. So I have them, right here and right there, and I can keep the phones in those positions and essentially keep them both charging at the same time with two more in the back. That's really awesome. I'm not sure about the wattage on them, but maybe when we get one for an extended time, we can certainly test it. This is a absolutely massive display that I'm going to get into with everyone. But first, Alyssa, I really want to compare this to the Gravity's space on the inside. So let's insert the clip of the Lucid Gravity's interior review in comparison, because that's such a much smaller vehicle to this. Well, man, guys, is it cool that we are back with the same Gravity that we drove for the very first time? But of course, we're focused just on space efficiency inside. This is a significantly smaller, lower, way more efficient vehicle, and it appears almost like a wagon when you look at that, which looks like a cruise ship. So what I'm really curious to see is what is the space inside for the first, second, and third row passengers. So come around, just like we did in the Escalade. I'm going to set my seating position for me. I'm 6'1", 1.86 m again. And I'm going to I've already done this in the full Gravity review, but I'm going to sit roughly where I would want to sit. And I'm going to be pretty generous. Like, I have plenty of room here. Like, I actually do sit a little bit closer, but I sit closer than the average person. So again, this is my front seat position. Time to go to the back. Thank you very much, Alyssa. Jumping now into the second row, I'm just going to put up the center armrest. Now, this one, of course, is not equipped with like a super luxury second row, but it's more of like a family utilitarian style. You can get this bench seat style, or at least captain's chairs, without all the console stuff in the Escalade. That would be a more fair comparison. I know the GM guys are yelling at me right now, but let's see. Basically locked in, plenty of room all around. Right, Alyssa, don't you think? Yep, she said yes. Let's go into the third row. Push of a button, seat will go forwards, leaves plenty of room. Again, you would have comparable space, but great point The seat belt is attached into the actual seat structure here rather than the body structure of the vehicle, which means I'm not climbing all over that seat belt. So into the third row of the Gravity, and we'll just pull this back. It'll latch right to the same position we were and come back to where I had it. And oh my gosh, so much more room, have to say. So the one thing is the headroom, yeah, this is a lower vehicle. My head hits about the same as the Escalade. Maybe actually, I don't even feel it hitting, but I can just vaguely feel a brush, but I can still fit about 1.5 fingers above my head in this one. But the shoulder room, like look how far over I can go here. So much more spacious. It just is pretty amazing. And if I can borrow the camera just for a second to show you guys this, full knee room, and my knees are not in my face, that's down low. And so even though there's not necessarily a garage or a cutout here, it's really comfortable to sit inside of the Gravity in the third row. Like I could do a long trip. I think both have comparable air conditioning vents. You know, the Escalade actually has 3, there's 2 back here, but in general, like both have USB ports, both offer similar features. It's just insane how massive that car is, and you get comparable or even slightly worse space than something like this, which is much smaller but offers equal space. So I don't want everyone, the reason of this segment is A, it's really cool to show off how space inefficient that car is and space efficient the Lucid Gravity is, but also I think just a lot of people think you have to buy a big car to get a ton of space. Well, in the Escalade, you're buying a big car that weighs over 9,000 pounds with a ton of extra stuff because it's badass in a sense, but it's also pretty dumb in another sense. The last thing we have to do is show you the space behind the third row. So I'm going to leave everything set the way it is. Let's start opening up the trunks. Here I come popping out of the Gravity now, and yeah, the roof is a little bit low, but still, if I was a little bit better trained, I could get in and out, not climbing over a seatbelt, plenty of room to get in. Again, I think that's more than acceptable. We'll pull that back, and then the seat structure should move back to where it was. Let's look at the trunk space behind the third row. There are some cool tricks up the sleeve. First of all, the biggest thing I want to mention is this low loading height. I mentioned it in the initial review. If you stand back here, Alyssa, you can see this is essentially at my knee level, and this is the vehicle in its standard ride height. It can go lower. Both vehicles, again, in standard ride height. There's comparable, like a nice enough room back here. You can, of course, fold these down, and they do move forward somehow. I'm pretty sure I pull this, and then yes, I can lock them in a more upright position. This is the position I was sitting in, but the thing that the Gravity has is this massive underfloor storage. I mean, you could fit a whole stroller back there, suitcases. You can actually put all the people and all their luggage in this, which is totally insane and really unlike anything else. And the point is driven home when we come over to the Escalade. So run over with me so I can show you in the same position the space in this one. To open the back, all you do, tap the Cadillac badge, opens up. Let's look at loading height. Again, both vehicles in their standard ride height, both can go lower. Escalade does offer like a kneeling function. Gravity can go all the way to the ground. But in their standard ride height, where the Gravity was at my knee, this is at my hip. So that's a huge difference, absolutely, when you're trying to lift something heavy into here. Secondly, no underfloor storage. You do have a bit more space, certainly up here. So no question, this area is a bit larger than the Gravity, but you completely give up on the underfloor storage, and it's just way higher to get into. So again, I think the biggest takeaway here is you have vehicles with pluses and minuses, compromises here and there on the interiors, but this is so much bigger on the outside, and it just shows you don't need to buy a massive barge on wheels to get the same interior space in a vehicle. So you have clever packaging, dumb packaging, but both do have packaging. Anyway, that was really fun. Thanks to the guys at Lucid for bringing out the old Gravity that I had a chance to drive. Again, that one's not a series production model, but they do have series production models now. So congratulations to them on starting production of a fantastic family SUV. And let's continue on with the Escalade review. Holy smokes, just have to say, all I've learned is just the incredible magical packaging of Lucid in comparison to General Motors there.
Yeah, it's just, they're so different from each other. but
Yeah.
they're in the same competing class or price range, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like if you're looking for a family electric SUV, these are two of the top ones in our market. And you've got big, excessive Escalade, bold, and you've got like sports car, massive family hauler, way more efficient. Both speak to me, but I think like if you parked both next to each other and asked me which I would pick, it'd probably be the Gravity. I mean, I've had the chance to drive both now, and that car is just so fun to freaking drive. So, 55 inches of display. In my head, people always rate displays in inches, Alyssa, and I can never equate them to anything. But what I'd love to give you the honor of doing is peeling the plastic cover that goes over this display. Let me grab this, and I will have you come through and clean and peel off, unbox the Escalade. I know, it's a far ways away to get over here. Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, it's a hard one. There you go. It's hot. I ripped it.
Oh no.
It ain't an easy one to do. Alright, that was graceful.
That was not so ASMR style, was it?
No. We're just gonna get this off now at this point.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry guys. No, I can't get it off.
Really?
I have to really pull it. It's really stuck in there.
Oh, dang, Alyssa.
Yeah.
We got this thing jammed in there. Let's come from the other side.
Not as peaceful. As done.
Wow. Honestly, the screen actually looks way better now.
Yeah, it doesn't have all the fogs.
It's not one continuous display. Clearly, there's a break right here. But other than that, it's pretty dang nice. And at least here on this side, I've got the night vision display up there, but we can change everything. Google Maps, driver assistance. Let's see what Google Maps looks like. Absolutely huge display of your mapping functions built in. And then, of course, your just very basic gauges that you can have on here. I wish there was more customizations. Perhaps with over-the-air software updates, there will be. Handing the phone back, Alyssa. Driving position in the Escalade. You have just a commanding view of the road. You're in here. You've got a, relatively normal sized, very nice feeling steering wheel. I love the Super Cruise side here as well. It's just big and bulky. And man, does it give you one hell of a view of the road. You've had the chance to drive this now. What do you think about the position, the switch gear, the way everything's laid out? My impression is this is really, really top class for just the placement of everything.
Yeah, I really like it. I enjoyed driving it. I wasn't annoyed. There was nothing out of the ordinary for me. Just hopping into a brand new car, there's usually something that kind of quirks with me. The only thing is maybe just the shifter is a little bit awkward at times, but that's
what's
very...
up with that?
Well, you gotta like push in.
Yeah, just like every GM, you can't go up and down. You have to pull back to release and then down and up. That's
which is something you
yeah.
easily get used to. But
they're
the
all like
screen,
that.
the display, the rear steer is so helpful, and you really don't. I mean, you feel like you're driving around a big car, of course, but you definitely get a lot of assistance and help that help alleviate those big issues.
I'm just going to pull over here where there's a little bit more lighting from those parking lot lamps over this way, and then maybe it'll just help a little bit with people seeing inside, I hope. Sorry this is happening. We have had a cram day. We flew here this morning, grabbed the car, making the video for you guys, and we're off to China in the morning, so we got to get this one in. And I'm a huge thank you to everyone that helped with this video at DGDG to get us in on our way, basically as a layover. That was amazing, the timing here.
Yeah, good layover.
Okay, so I have one issue with this display, Alyssa. A couple issues, I should say. The first is, this is curved, the whole display, but it makes me feel like I'm kind of sitting sideways in the car. All of this is positioned, it's almost like I expect a screen to be head on, and then they've angled it this way. So if I, bring the view from right here, you guys can actually see it clearly from my view, maybe here, where it just seems like there's such a small amount of information so that you can see through the screen, so much wasted space with the rest of the screen, and it just seems to me that this is just a little bit awkward, and it feels like I'm on like a 10-degree turn to the rest of the car. It's just a little bit weird, Alyssa. Did you notice that?
No, it
Okay.
didn't bother me. But I also wasn't really looking at the screen, so. But I do notice it, that it definitely is a little bit awkward.
The other thing I should mention is the head-up display is very basic in what it can show. It's not very bright, and it's very small. We're used to seeing these, you know, top-class Mercedes head-up display, even what's in Gravity, and others that are filling up the windshield with tons of function. Macan has a great head-up display. This is like head-up display from 2012 in here. Just like looks a little bit weird. It looks a little even dirty in this one. The sensor might need to be cleaned, but regardless, it's just not it does its job. It's certainly helpful. It gives you the driver assistance information, a little bit of mapping, but it's just like this big up there, and you're like, what are you saying? Meanwhile, the world has moved on from this General Motors. It's time for a real big boy immersive head-up display experience. Still, I'm happy it has one. We test and review too many electric cars without great technology like that. Tesla. Anyway, moving along to this portion over here. This is a reach, Alyssa. This is if I put my arm at full extension with my, you know, shoulder blade back to the seat, I'm nowhere close. I have to like lean forwards in order to get my arm up here. So Cadillac thought of that, and they put this sort of adjustable, you know, switch gear down here, iDrive style switch gear that looks nice, and it, you know, it's okay, but you can definitely tell that this system was designed to be interacted by touch and then adapted to work with a control wheel. So to come through, it's like not always totally solid. Like I can't totally come through all of these and adjust everything super easily. It's a little bit weird, I would say. There's also this VMAX mode. When you have that unlocked, that gives you the full 750 horsepower. I think it's 555 kilowatts with this on and 505 kilowatts with it off. So it's like 55 kilowatts. Or yeah, it's 500 kilowatts, then 555, plus or minus 55 kilowatt bump in power. Not sure which motor, what the spread is. And speaking of the motors and drive modes, I should mention this vehicle is dual permanent magnet motor with no clutch disconnect. I should have mentioned that earlier, but I didn't. So, you know, typical GM motors. So the way I have this thing set up that I think is the best way to drive it is everything in Tour, steering in Tour, suspension in Tour, acceleration feel maximum, motor sound as off as it will go in Tour, and then VMAX selected. And to me, this is just the best way to get that soft Luxo vibe, because the ride quality in this is actually very impressive, and I have to commend General Motors on their chassis tuning for hiding so much of the weight. That was not an easy task, and they did a really good job with the suspension, considering all of the forces acting against them. But man, does this thing just float down the road. In VMAX, it kind of lifts up a little bit. It's not like Hummer that feels like you're doing wheelies, but it's also not like Silverado that doesn't pitch and dive. It has just the right amount of pitch, just the right amount of dive to give you this like kind of cool vibe while driving, and that's how I set up the car, and I've been really enjoying that drive mode. I've also really found myself just using this as a touch function. Coming in here to the charging menu, it's very similar to other General Motors products that you can set your charge limit here. General Motors recommends an 80% daily charging limit for this, which based off of our driving is 372 miles predicted. If we go to 100, it's showing 460 miles, which is EPA. Earlier today, Alyssa, this thing was showing 470 plus miles at 100%. That is so much range on this vehicle.
Yeah, that's impressive. But it also is just straight off the lot too, so hasn't had time to think about life.
Yeah, exactly. This thing doesn't know how it's going to be used or driven, and as a demo vehicle, it's probably going to have a very confusing life to get an accurate prediction here. But one other things that it has fast charge prep so that you can do manually preconditioning. But what I would recommend, rather than doing this is a good backup plan, but is actually using the built-in navigation, which, you know, we don't have our account set up, so we got to go to this thing every time. But I would actually navigate to a fast charger, such as, let's see, that's fast. I think I can search for just super fast stations. How do I do that? Hit the try 350 kilowatt or faster. So we would go, that one says out of service, that one says it's good. Bunch of EVGOs around here apparently. We'd go to this EVGO station, we'd arrive there at 71% state of charge.
Northeast toward Jarvis Avenue.
She'll start talking, And then, of course, it will automatically precondition on the way so that you get the fastest charging performance for your arrival state of charge. I much prefer to have it using the built-in nav than using the manually preconditioning. I've always found better charging performance by relying on this than doing it manually. Just my impression. Okay, so the Maps also does full route planning, and I think it's pretty quick. So when I have to type in something, it actually brings it up down here on this lower display. And I don't think it lets me, drag to type like Lucid and others do. So I'm going to type in Fort Collins, and it's incredibly snappy. Very powerful chip here. There is no delay, no lag, and I'm really impressed. So it says we would die somewhere out in the middle of Nevada. That's a ton of range to make it all the way out there. And with 4 charging stops, we would make it back home to Fort Collins. Now I can hit start, and it will start planning. It just planned out the route, and we have basically our full route there. Stop number 1, stop number 2, stop number, 3, and then stop number 4. All planned out really fast. Impressive route planner. What's your impression, Alyssa?
Yeah, I like that it kind of skipped going into bigger cities, which was nice. Yeah, it was super quick, super snappy. I like using Google Maps, so it's some people aren't a fan. Some people, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it looks good. And yeah, it gives you updates. It tells you whether like a police is around or whatever it might be. It gives you warnings, just kind of like Waze.
You can actually use Waze in the vehicle if you want as well.
Yeah, but I think honestly Google has kind of become Waze in a lot of ways.
That'll be a whole topic for a podcast, because I'm an Apple Maps guy, and I know that's not the general feeling of most of our viewers, but regardless, this does run on Android, so you can download all the different apps, Spotify, a better route planner, plug share, charge point, a bunch of other things in here. But Alyssa, I think my main issue is this is one beautiful giant screen, and they did the worst job of integrating everything into here. Screen size matters 0 when you're not going to use it. This may as well just been a little tiny driver instrument cluster, a normal size navigation screen, and then a small medium-sized passenger display. Look at all this wasted space through here. The map should really flow nicely through this. They could have done so much more, and it to me just feels like lazy software engineering.
Yeah, a little bit. You want it to be more immersive with this amount of screens. There's just so much to have for space. Maybe there's some room for some software updates in the future, possibly, maybe, probably not. But
yeah, probably not. But maybe. I mean,
maybe.
that's my suggestion is let's make this one much nicer display rather than just loading up modules over into here. Let's make this some cool stuff. Of course, it has all the trailer function, which we've shown in our rustic ring, where you can build a trailer profile to learn the range. You can super cruise while towing, which is a massive benefit to this vehicle if you plan on towing. One of the reasons to actually get this over gravity that we should mention, Alyssa, is if you are going to tow, having a big battery makes all the difference.
Agreed.
Yep, because you're already pushing a ton of air out of the way, already using that efficiency, and so the efficiency drop while towing on this vehicle is going to be significantly less than with the equivalent trailer on the Gravity, which you're going to have a huge range loss on while towing. So again, Escalade IQ still has the place in the market. I know we've been kind of making fun of it for being big and inefficient, but that does make sense for the small use case of people who tow a lot, which I fall into that category. It just said someone's coming up on the left. Oh, and there's the kitty going down the wall.
Oh, again.
That's a great feature, by the way.
Yeah.
All General Motors have that, where if someone's approaching left or right while you're sitting in the vehicle, it'll alert you. And it was a cat walking along the concrete wall there. Pretty cool. Love that. Other than that, you've got hotspot, entertainment hub, normal stuff, downloadable apps, which we're not logged in, but you can just come here to the Play Store and download, all of these apps and more. Which is great to see. Alyssa's yawning, which means I got to blow through the rest of this. So anyway, if you look up here, Alyssa, really cool materials. Let me see if I can even get just a little bit more light facing up so that you guys can see this nice. It's all straight plastic, but just 3D effect. It's like they really went in and cared a lot here.
Yeah, it's all straight plastic, but it's great.
I mean, I think, it looks interesting at least.
Yeah, they've got different textures and stuff. I just thought that was it. Whoa, that's actually that's
Yeah, it's like clear.
That's like a
see-through, like
plexi
3D.
thing, and then there's something.
That's what I'm
more-
saying. Come on, it's okay that it's
Wow.
plastic, but it's cool. Can you zoom in on that so the viewers can see a little bit? It's kind of neat what's going on up there, you know? Maybe not.
Oh.
Okay, you've got your OnStar, SOS, sort of assistance. Your hazard lights up here in the center is, you know, becoming increasingly common in the automotive space. And then there's just no way to tint the roof. There is a selfie camera in here, an interior camera monitoring. Hopefully when they build dog mode one day in 10 years, if they ever get around to it, you can use this camera to monitor the interior using the General Motors app, so that you can monitor your dog inside the vehicle, which is a huge point for us, but also many people love to road trip with their animals.
Yeah.
Let's support them, guys. Moving to the rearview mirror, yeah, good point. You can choose if you want a see-through mirror, but the view out the back is very minimal in this vehicle. So I actually do recommend the camera mirror. A lot of people don't like the camera mirror. A lot of my friends don't like the camera mirror. To me, I use it. It's fine. I think the bigger miss out of all of this, Alyssa, is there's no cameras for blind spot view.
No, which is weird. You'd think on a car of this caliber and this price range that you would have side cameras.
Yeah, it's a feature that I've become so accustomed to with Lucid and Tesla and others that I just like, how can this not have the side cameras? It's a life hack while cruising because
plenty of
it's
room
so
for
big. You almost don't care about blind spots when you have it. You check your mirror, you check the camera, and you go. That's the way to do it, I think. Coming down to this screen, this is sort of an extra screen that in some vehicles were like HVAC buttons along the side that are now baked into this display. So we have our main functions up top that run through like defrosting, syncing the climate. Anytime you make a change with any General Motors product and the temperature needs to change, it blasts the air till it gets to that temperature. It's really annoying. I wish they could be more graceful with the temperature switch. You've got your hotkeys that you can pull down right here, glove box release, head-up display on and off, power window lockout, your camera system. I'm going to show you the glove box release, glove box size right there. Pretty nice size glove box, Alyssa.
Yeah. Normal size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And then we've got our camera function that will pull up our camera view around the Escalade. You have this massive ass display, technical term, and that's the camera size they give us?
Yeah, kind of funny.
What the heck? That is crazy, isn't it? It's a nice quality camera system. Like, I have no issues with this. You can see the wheels here, the turning lights lighting up as we're turning the wheels, but also just like, how is this the camera size? And it's so far away. Like, well, let's reverse this so I don't have to look to another, state to see what I'm about to hit.
Agreed.
Okay. And then, of course, you've got your trailer view somehow, side view, and then also different guidelines that you can pull up while using everything right there in the camera functions. So that is the camera functions. I can swipe, and there's more things. You can open and close your charge port door. You can turn traction control on and off, but there's also an even deeper setting in there. And this is your hotkey to go to arrival mode, which enters that crab walk like function. And sometimes you just don't want rear steering for whatever particular reason it might be. You can turn that off. One of the best reasons to turn off rear steer is if you're right up on a curb, you can turn away and you get no tail swing into the curb, which is sometimes a benefit depending on the drive cycle. Moving down from that, your main function here is your HVAC, so you can control first, second, and third row climates, all 5 zones right from here. And I feel like there's a lot of wasted empty space. This should just be way better implemented, Alyssa. I mean, your e-tron has a similar screen like this, but it's much smaller, much nicer, and that's from 6-7 years ago. Okay, coming into this screen here, again, very similar to the second row. You can turn which vents you want on and off. Then we've got our seat controls. Again, this will look very familiar from the second row display, except for the addition of the heated steering wheel here. The massage function works the same. And then, of course, you can go deeper into the position where you can even go into adjustments and say, okay, I want the side bolsters to come in a little bit more. It's actually best to just drag this. I really think this is okay. Once you get it set, though, save your seat position so you never have to go through this ever again. We've got more functions such as your quick controls here. This will allow you to go even deeper into some settings. For example, I can go through and set some more functions into each area. I can come through to rear steering, and you can choose auto, off, or arrival from a different looking menu. You can adjust your head-up display functions here, and then of course, turn traction control off all the way if you want. But if you go above a certain speed, it will turn it back on because General Motors is too safety conscious to have fun. Of course, there's one pedal driving with 3 functions. It says one pedal driving unavailable. I have no idea why, unless it had to do with our, don't actually know why. No clue. Not available, but it's been working all day. I'm sure it's just a setting that we have set. Maybe because we've turned ESP off. That is why, Alyssa. Can't do traction control off. We've got more parking functions here, and then of course all of the door functions to go across. Just some more hotkeys in the bottom right. Headlight functions. You can turn your lane assistance on or off, and then a quick key to get to your cameras if you want to have them pulled up on the main display. On top of that, you have your really nice integrated trailer brake controller, which you can set your gain output, because again, this can tow 8,000 pounds. You want to use a trailer with integrated brakes. And to my bottom left, by my knee, I just have basic functions, very similar, front trunk, rear trunk, and I can adjust the suspension height to entry, exit. You can also drive up to around 20 to 25 miles an hour in the slammed position. I think they call it low rider mode, which is like if you're just rolling up to the car show and want the Escalade slammed, you can do that, or even driving through a parking garage because it's quite tall. And then, of course, you can go to your normal height, which will automatically drop a little bit at highway speeds, and your increased height, which is about an inch higher from stock. Although, look at that graphic there, Alyssa. This thing looks absolutely high to the moon. It looks so funny. But that's just if you need to clear an obstacle. With all of that said, I think that covers mostly everything up here, except for this giant center console, of which there's another HDMI port, a 12-volt outlet, and USB-C ports. Anything more we should add in the second row, Alyssa?
No.
Okay. Should we go drive it?
Yeah.
Let's do it in the morning, though, so it's light out, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Time to go cruise for the night in the Escalade. Let's go get dinner, and then we'll finish up the driving review in the morning. Guys, good morning. It is time to drive the Escalade, and this is going to be a little bit non-traditional for our type of reviews, where I really like to get nerdy and nitty-gritty with the driving videos. This is going to be one angle, nothing fancy, and the main reason is we're in a bit of a rush and a bit of a pickle. My laptop exploded in my backpack. Something like punctured the screen, so we've got to run and get a new laptop ahead of the flight to China, which we're going to in just 2 or 3 hours. So, and then we've got to run. We've just got no time, and so that means this video is going to suck from the driving portion. But the good news is I can explain all of the driving stuff to you in a very quick and easy manner, because the Escalade drives very similarly to how you would expect other General Motors vehicles to drive. So we've driven plenty of those on this channel. We've driven all of the big body, sort of, I would say, Ultia double stacker vehicles, and there's code names for the platforms, but I can't totally remember all of them. We're actually going by Lucid HQ. Whenever I'm in the area, I always stay right across the street. Always got to do some snooping, see if you can see prototypes. They have a bunch of Chinese cars in the back, some cool stuff back there. Escalade IQ. All right. This is essentially a Silverado EV, just with a completely different suspension tuning package, even different than Hummer. So let's start with the easy stuff right off the bat. Drivetrain. It's dead silent. There's dual permanent magnet motors. They have one pedal driving with 3 different settings, and the one pedal driving is extremely strong, especially in the high setting. It's almost a little bit difficult to modulate, especially at low speed, until you totally get used to it. The GM stuff just drives a certain way, and you kind of have to get used to the way that it drives. It's just a little bit jumpy off the throttle and brakes. And the interesting thing that it will do is, if you are, just going to switch my display here to the Google Maps function to load up, so I've got maps everywhere. If you have a cold battery or a full battery pack, it will still compensate to give you the same exact one pedal driving feel, no matter the conditions. So you don't really know if you're using friction brakes or regenning, depending on what you're feeling. The only way to tell is you can look at your kilowatt graph on the display, and if it's no longer increasing but you have stronger deceleration, then it's into friction brakes. I've complained about this before. I think it's a great function for like 99% of people, but I would still like an option to go and utilize as much regen as the car will give me, and then I'll drive around that limitation and use the brake pedal for more friction brakes if needed. However, the brake pedal in this is still a brake-by-wire system. It's the same brakes that are in Hummer and Silverado, and it still will add regen, especially if the battery pack's at low state of charge and warm, where it can accept a ton. And it will add regen to the point where it will blend to friction brakes through the brake pedal travel. And you may choose to actually keep one pedal driving off, which is fine. And the vehicle will coast a little bit more, and it's going to feel a bit more like a combustion car. But the benefit of having a brake-by-wire system in this case is that you're not losing any efficiency by doing that. It's still going to be able to use friction brakes, regenerative braking to slow you down, which I think is a really nice feature, especially in a vehicle like this where regen really matters because you're trying to control so much mass. In fact, GM, at least in their Hummers and Silverados, I'm not sure about this, they typically don't recommend driving in the mountains or driving spiritedly above 80% state of charge because you're working the friction brake so hard, especially while towing. So just something to keep in mind, that this is a heavy vehicle and the braking system is designed for consistent hard use to have basically the regen and the friction brakes working together. We're going to merge on the highway and try some of the acceleration, the wide open hit. So I'm actually going to come in here to drive modes and we're going to put it into VMAX. There's also a quick key on the steering wheel that I can select to select VMAX mode. That gives us the full 750 horsepower. So let's just go a little bit slow. 3, 2, 1. Nose comes up and then just torque steer like crazy. You're just fighting the front axle on this thing. And especially if you juice it in a corner, I would actually say borderline dangerous, the amount of torque steer you get. Now, you do get it in Hummer as well and Silverado while towing. We've shown it many times in these vehicles, and I just for the life of me can't figure out why they let this vehicle go to production with this amount of front end torque steer. If you just drive it nicely and you lean into it and you have VMAX mode off, it's totally fine. Like, there's not much torque steer, but it's also not that fast. If you want the power, which is VMAX, and the nose comes up, then it's just, whoa, all over the place. And I just think that's totally unacceptable, especially for someone driving an Escalade. They're probably not going to be paying attention. They're probably going to be on their phone, doing whatever, and they just are driving quickly, and then you throw them into a corner, like I'm going into here, throw it into this thing, and it's just, you know, big and torque steery and, you know, just it doesn't want to turn. It's just so heavy. It just wants to keep going straight, which is hilarious. So there's zero fun. There's zero handling here. It is not a performance vehicle. It's actually the opposite of a performance vehicle. And then we get to the on-highway characteristics, and this is kind of where it shines. I should just mention briefly, in the city, that 10 degrees of rear steer is really nice. It's certainly maneuverable in the city. However, it's so large, it's hard to park. It is just a big vehicle that you're trying to squeeze everywhere. And I really think the steering ratio, like I mentioned earlier in the video, is just too slow. You're just constantly yanking at this wheel to get it to move around. And to me, that just gets old and annoying and not premium. But now we're getting onto the highway. And there's only one downside on the highway. This is what this thing is built for: open road cruising. What you do is you turn on Super Cruise, like so. We've shown Super Cruise many times. We'll also run this in the Hogback Challenge if we'll have an opportunity to drive this in Colorado. Hopefully we will. I already know some of our viewers are getting these things, so that'll be exciting. We set the cruise control, we set Super Cruise, hands-free, and we just put the massage seat on, music up in this fantastic AKG sound system, and you just cruise. This is the key area of expertise for the Escalade IQ. Sitting on the highway, big open American lanes, big speeds, big battery, bad efficiency, but you don't care. You've got the nicest seat and it just loves to cruise. And Super Cruise handles a big vehicle like this incredibly well. It's perfect in the lane. It does auto lane changes. I turned that off, actually. It still will automatically change lanes, but on my command with the turn signal. Sometimes I don't really love its selection, its lane selection, so I usually turn off the automatic function when it chooses a lane, but that's fine. And this is what the Escalade is built for. It actually is one of the only American land yachts still on sale, or now on sale. And I actually think that's not a bad thing. Like, Cadillac clearly went out of their way to say this thing is not good in the city, it's way too big, it is not good for performance driving at all, it's not that fast, it doesn't like to stop, it doesn't like to steer. I mean, the brakes are very powerful, but you're just fighting all these forces of weight. And then you get on the highway, and man, does it just absolutely cruise. The suspension on the highway is super impressive as well, because if you hit a big bump, normally in big electric SUVs, you get this body porpoising, and it's really hard for them to kind of control the weight of the vehicle. But here in the Escalade, they actually do a really good job of both primary and secondary ride, smoothing everything out. I'm not here to say it's perfect. There's still a lot of mass. You still have to compensate with a lot of mass, with a lot of damper forces and air spring pressure, but like, it's really a great ride. So, you know, there is something cool about this where I picked it up yesterday. I didn't film it, but I picked it up from the dealership, from DG, and I got on the highway, put on the music, put on the Super Cruise, and I was like, this is the best possible highway cruising experience you could have. I was literally laughing to myself with the music on 11, with the massage seat on, the excess. It's like driving a vehicle in 2007 before the 2008 recession. You're like, life is great, everything is awesome, more batteries, more this, more music. And it's just, you have no clue in the world that maybe mass producing 9,300 pound vehicles filled with lots of batteries isn't the best idea. But it doesn't matter, because you're in an Escalade right here, right now, and it feels so good. And this is like, if you're gonna do road tripping, yeah, it's gonna get really expensive, by the way. I wanna touch on that in a second, but like, this thing rocks. Okay, one negative on the highway. The NVH, wind noise, road noise, it's not as quiet as you would hope it would be. It's not bad. I wouldn't say like anyone's gonna get in here and go, wow, it's loud, but e-tron iX, even Gravity that I drove, and others, way quieter than this on the highway. And so I feel like they really should have isolated this a little bit more. It also just generally feels pretty loose. Like, the battery's a structural component, but the body structure just doesn't feel that stiff. There's some rattles in the back when you go over like these weird undulations. And sometimes, even when the sound system hits at certain frequencies, I'm getting door card rattles and some other things when I don't have anything in the door pockets. So that's one problem. And then the second problem that I think is specific to this Escalade IQ, which is why I'm not making a big deal of it in this video, but if others experience it, let me know. There is a front motor grinding noise that's coming through. And I'm not sure if that's just a specific vehicle issue. You know, it's not like a prepped press car. This was a customer delivered, brand new. We were, you know, essentially took delivery of it on behalf of the customer from DG's demo fleet. And it just has this grinding noise. It hasn't gotten worse. It's just stayed the same since we pulled out of the dealership. And it just sounds a little bit like gear train clunkiness in the front motor that I can hear. It's definitely weird. Some other things I wanted to point out to you just as ancillary components of the review while we're just sitting on Super Cruise cruising. The door pockets are impossible to reach from the driver's seat unless you reach forward and go around the seat. The seat is so wide, you can't fit your hand down here. And if you have a watch on, you really can't fit your hand down there. And you certainly can't put anything of size in. I thought I turned off auto lane changes, but here it is doing it. Maybe I didn't turn it off. Oh, going by Tesla's factory. How about that? Shout out Tesla Fremont. What's up? Pretty cool. Just glad I looked over. Okay, so door pockets are really hard to access. We also have a nice little compartment behind the screen I didn't show you, but just a little place where you can store, I don't know, some pens or whatever behind that little screen down here. And aside from that, let's just get into some thoughts on cost and then final thoughts on the video. This is an expensive vehicle. Not everything about the vehicle feels like it is justified or like meets what the cost suggests. So like, we're in a $160,000 plus vehicle and I've got plastic crap around. And that to me is just not cool. But then you think about, that there's really almost nothing else like this on the road, for better or for worse. But I'm really glad this exists. I think we needed a big, imposing EV, sort of just F you to efficiency and just make it huge. And that's what this is. And it's kind of cool. And it feels good because it's so excessive. You go, life must be awesome because we can have all this crap in here. We don't have to worry about efficiency. We don't have to worry about XYZ. And for highway cruising, yeah, I actually agree. I think this might be the right approach with the big battery, especially if you're going to tow with it. And then, of course, you get consistent high-power charging with the newer software on the 24 module packs. But it's also going to cost you a ton. So what I'm really curious to see is how this will do in the 10% challenge versus the Lucid Gravity. While this and the Gravity should share a similar high power charging peak, we don't know totally how the Gravity charges. I'm pretty sure the curve in this is going to be flatter. And that's just because it's got a massive battery, so it's under less stress while charging. But then the efficiency is worse. So that's going to be interesting. So you're spending $130,000 to $160,000 on an Escalade IQ, which is more money, without question, than the combustion variants, unless you're talking Escalade V. So you're spending more to get the electric one. Then you have to think about the cost to run this vehicle. Electricity, especially in California at home, is not as cheap as it is everywhere in the rest of the country. So at home in Colorado, 7 cents per kilowatt hour. Yeah, I wouldn't even think about charging this thing up. It'd be, what, 10 or 15 bucks, something like that? Not a big deal. But when I go to a DC fast charger, this is one of the few vehicles that probably will cost more to run on electricity using public charging on road trips, which is honestly when you want the range, than the equivalent combustion vehicle. And perhaps we should do that video at some point in the future. The calculation only gets worse when you put a trailer on it or start using it for work, because your efficiency is going to drop even more, like it would with a combustion vehicle, of course, yes. But then the time comes into a component, the hassle of unhooking and hooking at charging stations, and then you go, maybe this should have had a range extender under the hood. I really feel like this could have been a good use case for a range extended EV and then use half the battery pack size. I feel like that would be an interesting compromise in a situation like this. So yeah, there's no cost benefit of buying this. You buy it because it's badass, it's wild, it's certainly a unique driving experience, and it's really only good on the highway, and that's about it. Objectively, it's not really good anywhere else, but it is impressively imposing, which makes it fun to maneuver it around. So that brings me to my final thoughts on the Escalade, which is, I don't think it looks as good as the combustion one. It might drive as well as the combustion one, but just like, it's not fast compared to its competition. Like, it has big power, but they should have put the tri-motor system in here. If they're going wild, going excess, give it the 1,000 horsepower. What are we doing here? It really doesn't handle well at all. The steering ratio is too slow. But then, so if you think about this car objectively, it's really stupid. It makes no sense. And, there's certainly a subset of our audience that will go, this is the dumbest thing on the planet. Spend more money. There's no ROI. Depreciation's probably going to be quite high. And it's just, it's a show-off vehicle. But then if you look at the other side of it, which is, you might do a lot of road trips, you got a family, you just want to tow once in a while, you want something big and imposing that's comfy with great seats and the big sound system and just this huge display. And it is an interesting representation of a highway cruiser, an American land yacht. And I really do love American land yachts. Like, objectively, they're terrible for performance, for efficiency, but they do the highway thing really well, and this certainly does. So to be honest, I really do like the Escalade. I know I've been kind of hard on it, but I think it's a really cool piece of Americana at the moment. It's almost a statement piece, maybe for all the wrong reasons, of what America is capable of in terms of just throwing shit at it. And then the Gravity, on the other hand, which this is not a comparison video, but it's really stark to see the difference, is small, lightweight, it's amazing to drive. I mean, truly sports car level of driving dynamics in that Lucid Gravity. And it has the same interior space, and even sometimes better interior space than this. And you go, wow, both are American engineering, and two totally different approaches. So regardless, I have to say I'm glad this exists. I don't think I would spend the $160,000 or recommend someone to spend the $160,000 on one of these. You might consider leasing it or just wait a couple years. Let's see what the market does, because these could be great buys in just a couple years for very little amount of money. I mean, Escalades have always kind of held their value a bit more than the Suburban and the Yukons, but they still depreciate. And I think this is going to be no exception to that. But if you are going to buy a used one, buy a level 2 with the big sound system and all the stuff. Whether it's sport or luxury 2, it makes no difference. It's just this sound system is worth it for that alone. Plus you get 80 amp charging. That's not standard. 48 amp charging standard. So just spec up the level 2 sport or luxury. I'd skip the executive seating package, and then you've got yourself a freaking airport shuttle or highway cruiser. It should be really cool. So with all that said, we've got to exit over here. So we're coming in under braking, and I will talk to you all soon. I appreciate you watching. Sorry for the driving portion being so not my typical style. I typically like to show you the wheel and the gauges and so you can get a sense of what it's like to command this ship down the road. But unfortunately, that just isn't going to happen today. So thanks so much for watching. I'm off to the Apple store. Got to get a new laptop, and then a bunch of Chinese videos coming probably after a couple more, and can't wait to share all that with you. But man, the Escalade, what a way to leave America in this thing. It's so cool. It's so cool because it's so dumb, and it's objectively not it, but I love the Escalade. I love that it exists. Should people really buy it over other more reasonable options? No. But I'm just driving it for the day, so I'm very happy. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.